Hey you guys, welcome to day 6. I'm Teresa Harding, and today we're going to talk about your story, because if you do your story right, the story is what sells. That is actually what turns you from a salesman into a marketer. And I'll tell you what, good salespeople, how good you are has nothing to do with how much money you make. But in marketing, actually, how good you are has everything to do with how much money you make. And the story is everything. I didn't realize how important this was until as we got more and more into it. I can't even tell you the value of learning how to tell your story. So I'm going to teach you exactly how to do it. And I'm going to give you an example of what it looks like. So because price is not value. How much you, like if I say, okay, I'm going to give you this training, I could say I'm going to give it to you for $100, but the value is $150. Well, guess what? If I show you the value in what that thing is that you're getting, you'll pay way more than $150. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. I'm going to take this cell phone, okay? And this is an iPhone. How much do you think that would sell for? Probably at least several $100s, depending on what model it is. Let's pretend like this is the 10X. It's not, but let's pretend like it is. This is a 10X model, and they're probably selling for about $700 or $800 right now. And so I could sell you this phone for $700 or $800. And you can find these all over the internet. So there are tons of people out there selling the cell phones, and what's going to make them buy it from me? Honestly, people are just going to go out there and they're going to look, and usually it's the lowest price. As long as they know it's a legit product, they want the lowest price. So I'm going to show you how to change this from a product into an offer. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if everybody's selling it, then the only way you're going to sell yours first over anybody else is if you either have the best offer or you are the cheapest. And if you're going to be the cheapest, guess what happens? Now you're doing a price war, because now you're cheaper and somebody else goes 10 cents cheaper and now you go cheap. So the bottom line is now you're cutting out your profits because all you have is a product and everybody's selling the same thing. So let me show you what happens when you turn it into an offer. Okay, we'll pretend like this is my cell phone. It's not. This is my cell phone, and everybody's selling it for about $700, $800, but I'm going to sell you mine for $10,000. And you'll see that by the time I'm done, almost every single one of you guys watching would be happy to pay me $10,000 for this phone. So let me show you how that works. So this is my cell phone. They're selling for $700 or $800 on the internet, and so I'm going to sell you this cell phone. I'm going to sell it to you for $10,000. But when you get my cell phone, you're going to get the cell phone. But you're also going to get on this cell phone. I have over $50,000 worth of personal development books and CD packages and things from Zig Ziglar, who isn't even alive anymore. Packages and personal development items that have helped create my success, my favorite ones. Things that were, things that I purchased, and even if they weren't on digital, we've put them on digital. I've saved them on my external hard drive, put them on my phone. So all of that is on here. You're going to get that if you buy this phone. And the second thing I'm going to give you is on here I've got my Boxer. So what that means is that anytime that you have any question for me, you can call. You'll be able to ask me any question you want anytime you want, and the value of that and the value of my time, that's probably worth at least $10,000. And so let's just say $5,000 just to be conservative. So, but also on this phone, I actually have phone numbers of some pretty famous people. So I've got probably more than 200 millionaires. Their phone numbers are on my phone, where some of them are pretty high end, where just doing one deal with one of these people would be $1 million value for you. So you'll get all those phone numbers of all those people, their personal cell phone numbers, and the value of that is, let's say, $1 million. In fact, let's write this out so we don't forget what we're doing, okay? So here's the cell phone. And this is an example that I saw Russell Brunson do, and it's so powerful because it helps you see the value of the story, all right? So here's the cell phone, and the cell phone is, let's say, $700, okay? Now, you're going to get all of the personal development, and the value of that is $50,000. I've got at least $50,000 worth of stuff on there. You're also going to get you're going to get my Voxer. And we said we'll call that $5,000 of value. And you're going to get all the famous people on my phone. Famous people or successful people. And that's worth $1 million easy, just having that information, being able to work with these people and do a deal with someone. Also on my phone, let me tell you what else you're going to get. I have got Audible books, my favorite Audible books, and I've got probably over $20,000 worth of books on my phone. You're going to get all of those books, and that's just in the personal development category. So you'll get to see all of my favorites. I have probably almost every single thing from Jim Rohn, from Tony Robbins, from all the people that teach you how to be successful, some of their most expensive courses. And so those are on here as well. But for my Audible, you're going to get $20,000 of value. And let's see, what else is on my phone? So, and on top of that, well, actually, we'll just leave it at that. So this is what you're going to get from my phone. It's a $700 phone, but you're also going to get all the personal development stuff that I have on here, $50,000. You're going to get my Voxer, $5,000. You're going to get all the phone numbers of all the famous people that and millionaires that I have on my phone. That's worth $1 million. You have all my Audible books, $20,000. I'm going to give you one more thing. I'm going to give you the top podcasts that have changed my life. And they're not always the ones that people know about. They're not easy to find. So I'm going to give you my podcasts. They're the top 5 that are just phenomenal. Let's say the value of that is $2,000 at least. Okay, so let's add that up. What is that? 1 million, 5, 55, 60, 70. So let's say 1.5 million plus. Okay. So that's $1.5 million of value. And so, but there's only one problem. I only have one. Okay, so the auction starts now. Okay, go. Okay, I'll tell you that within 5 minutes, that phone is going to be sold and it's going to sell for $10,000. Okay. So that's how you create an offer. And that's kind of how you share a story. It depends on how you share that story, because guess what? I told a story about almost every single one of these things as I shared that with you. And that makes a huge difference. So I'm going to walk you through how you tell your story, because you need to tell it in a very specific way. And in some of these, I did every piece of the story, and some of them I didn't. I just did a little section, okay? So what you need to think about is when you made a decision to buy whatever it is that you're selling, the product that you're selling. I don't care if it's an info product. I don't care if it's your essential oils. I don't care what it is. Whatever you decided to sell, why? Why did you buy it in the first place? You got into doTERRA for a reason. Why? You need to think back and remember what the backstory was, because you decided to take action. And let me show you what happens. I'm going to show you what happens when we tell other people, because there was something that happened in our story that gave us an epiphany, that made us go, oh my goodness, I've got to use these oils. But then when we tell other people, we don't use the epiphany. We don't help them have their own epiphany. We start telling them something else, and I'll show you what that looks like. But first, I want to give you an example of how this works. So let's pretend like I'm sharing, like I'm trying to sell or offer for free or whatever, an info product that is all about personal development, all about taking charge of your life and getting over your limiting beliefs or whatever it is, okay? That's what I'm selling. Now, the story that I'm going to tell you goes like this. I'm going to tell you this story, then I'm going to lay it out for you exactly how I did that, and then I'm going to give you another example of a story so you can see what it looks like in the story, okay? So, and this is a true story. When I was in junior high and high school, I was not popular. In fact, I was the opposite of popular. I was one of the kids that nobody really wanted to talk to. And so when I was in junior high, I can remember I was having a birthday party. And you know, when you're little, you have a birthday party, everybody comes to everything. It was getting to that stage where I was getting older. I honestly, all I really cared about was being popular, because that's what I saw, that's what I knew. I didn't get it beyond that. And I would see the kids that seemed so popular, and I just wanted to be popular. But I was exact opposite of that. And I can remember it was my birthday, and I think I was in maybe the 7th or the 8th grade, and I invited every single popular kid to my birthday party because I didn't have any other friends. So I didn't, it's not like there was someone else I could invite. So I invited all the people that I wished that I was in their friend group. And I gave all the invitations out at school, so I know they got them. And then as the few days went by, one by one, every single one of them told me that they couldn't come. So not a single person came to my birthday party. And that was powerful for me, because I remember pouting and being so bummed about that and feeling like life wasn't fair. And obviously that was a really, really hard thing for me. And through this pouting phase, I can remember watching my older siblings, because there were 13 of us in our family. And so my older brothers and sisters, they were the coolest kids in school. People loved them. And I remember watching them. And I started to notice, and I thought, everybody always likes them. And before, I had been looking at it like, what's in it for me? But all of a sudden, somehow, I remember watching my sister Jolene, and she just loved everyone. She was always so positive, so happy. Everyone considered her super popular, but she wasn't really necessarily in the popular group. Those were all her friends. But all the what we called the gangbangers back then, they were totally all her friends. Didn't matter what country people were from, the people who were the Hispanics who hung out together, they were her friends. Everybody loved Jolene. And I remember watching her interact with these people. And I even remember that in high school, you know how they vote for who's going to be homecoming queen and homecoming king and that kind of thing. Well, at our school, they had homecoming, but they also had another one that was called May Day. And in our town, May Day was huge. May Day was bigger than homecoming. And there was a May queen and a May king. And it was a big deal. And if you had been nominated to be a princess or a prince before you were a senior, because only seniors could be the king or queen. But if you had already been nominated to be a princess, then you couldn't do it again until your senior year. Then you could be nominated to be queen. And the nomination was by your entire student body, everybody. And so I remember her senior year watching this happen. And it was homecoming. And homecoming, she wasn't nominated. She was nominated, but she didn't get homecoming queen. And the thing that shocked me was, I could not tell you how many kids in school came up to her, guys and girls, who said, I didn't vote for you for homecoming because I want you to be May Queen. They said this to her. Tons of kids. And so I remember watching that and torn between the selfish side of, I want people to think that about me, to the powerful feeling that I had inside about, wow, look at how people think of her. And as I watched, I remember noticing how she treated everybody. And I remember I had an epiphany at that time, and it was powerful for me. And my epiphany was this: I want to be like her. I want to make people feel the way she makes people feel. I want to help people the way she does. And I don't know, I'm so grateful. I don't know what changed it from the selfish side to, I want to be that person who is that good to other people. And my sister did become May Queen that year, and everybody absolutely loved her. And I remember changing that day, and it was so powerful for me. I didn't even realize outwardly how much I was changing. To me, something happened in my heart, in my head, and that is all I cared about. But I remember later, probably, I don't remember how much later, it seemed like about a year later, that my mom was talking to me about it, and she said, we were talking about that, and I was talking about the change and why that happened and what was different for me. And she said, I remember that. And she said, I remember the day that that happened because your room used to be a wreck. Like, okay, I was a slob. I was a teenager, left everything laying everywhere. It was a wreck. And my other sister who I had to share a room with, we shared a room together, and she used to get so mad at me, and she would have a line down the middle of the room because she kept her side clean and mine was a total pigsty. And so I didn't even realize that I started being clean that day. I don't even remember that. But my mom said to me, she said, that I remember that day you changed and you were different. You acted different. You quit pouting about stuff. She said you kept your room clean from then on. I don't even remember that I stopped pouting. I didn't remember that I pouted all the time. I didn't know all those things. But when I had an epiphany, something changed for me. And I was different after that. And she said, your room was immaculate. You were different at school. Your attitude was positive. It was different. And you know what? It's because I decided to care more about other people than I cared about me. And you want to know what's interesting? I didn't care about trying to be popular anymore. I didn't care about any of that stuff. And I don't consider myself, oh, you were one of the popular kids. But you know what? I do remember. They were my friends. They were totally my friends. But guess what? The kids from... the kids that were Hispanic, they had nicknames for me. They called me Beaner because I was, like they accepted me as part of their group. It didn't matter where I went in school. All the kids were my friends, and I loved them. And you know what? I was nominated, and I get emotional not because I'm so proud that I was nominated. It's because I know why I was. But I was nominated to be May Princess. And then I became the May Queen my senior year. And I know that's why. It's because I had an epiphany. I wanted to be different. So can you imagine, now it's hard to get out of that emotional place, but can you imagine sharing that story if I'm selling something about how to change and how to become better, how to get out of your limiting beliefs and become something better than you thought you could be. If I share that story, all of a sudden, the rest of it changes. And people are going, wow, I can learn from this person. This person can help me. And that's what the story is all about. So I'm going to show you how the story works. And I'm going to show you how to start creating your own story. All right? Because what happens is we don't want to get vulnerable. And in fact, what happened was I thought I was pretty good at telling my story before I started learning what I'm about to show you. But the reality is, I wasn't as good as I thought I was because I was afraid to be vulnerable in my social media. Even when I got to a point where I was posting every day and sharing what seemed like vulnerable things, I would share vulnerable things up to a point, but then keep the most vulnerable stuff and not share that because it's hard. It's hard to do. But let me show you what happens, Kay. So when there is, this is called the Epiphany Bridge. All right? Uh-oh. Is this going to hold up? Okay, so here's our Epiphany Bridge, and this is what happens. The hero in the story has a journey, has a total journey, and people want to know what that journey is. And there's a guy named Michael Haig. He is famous in the film industry because he came up with the hero's two journeys. So it's basically the story of the hero's two journeys that I'm going to share with you. But I call it the Epiphany Bridge because one of my mentors, Russell Brunson, calls it that, and I like the way he describes it because it kind of fleshes it out even more. But what happens, what Michael Haig did is he in the film industry has become the standard. This is the standard that they use. Every single movie you watch will have this outline. I'll show you what it looks like. So first of all, the hero of the story, first they will have an internal and an external struggle, okay? Okay, my internal, external struggle was that I wanted to be popular. I wanted to be popular. That was the external struggle. But what was the internal struggle? You guys understood that my internal struggle was I wanted to have friends. I didn't feel like people liked me. And so there's an internal and an external struggle, and that is huge. Okay, then what happens is the person goes along in their journey and then they hit a wall. And that wall can be anything that's hard that they come across. For me, that wall was the birthday party. I hit a wall and look what happened. It was really hard for me. And that wall helped me, it made me go through a struggle. The wall is always a struggle. And after the struggle is over, as you go through the struggle, then you have an epiphany. And the epiphany is your aha moment where you go, oh my goodness, you realize something you didn't realize before. And it's huge. And then after the epiphany, then it makes you want to create a plan. Because the epiphany was so strong, they're like, hey, status quo isn't good enough anymore. So then you create a plan. And for me, that's in that story, my plan was, once I had the epiphany, which was, I want to be the kind of person that treats people like that. My plan now became treat people like that. And no matter what I did, everything was about that. And I didn't even realize I was being more clean. I didn't even realize I was doing my chores better, whatever. I changed all around because the epiphany was so big that the plan was what I needed to do to make sure I became whatever the epiphany made me realize, okay? The next thing is then there's a conflict. And what happens is after you make a plan, then you start going after the plan and you start figuring it out. And this is something I didn't flesh out as much in my story. In fact, I didn't at all, as I didn't take the time to do that. But there's a conflict. After you make the plan, then the conflict in my story would have been, which is true, that as I started to do that, people still thought of me a certain way. So it's not like I made friends all of a sudden. It was still a struggle. I still didn't feel like I really had friends. But as time went on, it happened over time, and it was a gradual thing. That by the time I was at the end of my high school, everyone was my friend. But not because I was trying to be popular. But there was conflict in there as I was trying to make the plan happen. And it was a struggle, and it was hard. So that's something I didn't include. Okay, then after the conflict is the final piece. It's achievement. It's when they make like you have an achievement. Okay, so, but that's not the only piece. A lot of people, they get messed up because they just show the achievement. My achievement in my story was I was voted as May Princess and then May Queen. Well, everybody's excited about that. That's a powerful story. But think of the other thing that happened that made it 10 times more powerful for you. Because guess what? What if I had never become May Queen? What if the person doesn't get what they want? Or what seems like, oh, that would be the result of you changing and being a better person. Because guess what? There's achievement and there's transformation. So it's either, well, it's both. It's not either. A transformation happened to me that changed who I was, that ended up having a better result than what I wanted. Originally, I wanted to be popular. Well, guess what? However you want to measure popular, if that means having a lot of friends, well, guess what? Then I guess I became popular. But guess what? This is what touched you. I did not think I was going to get so emotional. It's because of the transformation that happened, because of all this that I went through. So you notice how I shared that with you. So let me now that you understand what I'm doing, let me tell you, let me give you another example. The movie Cars by Disney. Think about the movie Cars. What happens? Let's walk through this together so you can see how that works. In the movie Cars, the car, what's his name? My mind just went blank. It's McQueen, Lightning McQueen. He has an internal and an external struggle. What is it? He wants to win the race. The external struggle. So really what you see is the external struggle. But what they do in the movies and what we need to do in our marketing is let them see the external struggle, but it's vulnerable to say, what does he really want? He wants to be accepted. He wants to feel like he's cool. He wants to do something that gets him attention and makes him feel like he's special. He wants to be special. That's the internal struggle. Then what happens in the movie? He hits a wall. He goes to Radiator Springs and he gets stuck there. And all these, so he's stuck in Radiator Springs and there's a problem. Then he goes through all these problems while he's in this wall place. And what happens? He gains relationships with all these people in the town, and he starts to care about them, and he starts to learn about them, and he wants what's best for them. And he starts to care more about them than he cares about what his piston cup. So he has an epiphany. He has an epiphany, and he goes, oh my goodness, I love these people. And then everything resolves itself, and he gets to be on his way, and he goes to the race. And he's so excited he gets to do the race. He makes a plan. Okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to do the race. And now it's all good. And by now everybody loves him because they've seen he's gone through the wall. They've seen the epiphany. Like, oh yes, now everybody's rooting for him. And they're saying, I hope he wins. I hope he can do it. Of course he's going to win because it's going to end right. And then he has a conflict. And the conflict happens in the race. He's in the middle of the race. And then what happens? His good buddy needs him. And so he stops himself in the middle of the race when he could have won. He stops himself to go help his friend. And so he has his conflict. And then at the very end, and you would think the achievement would be, oh, he won the piston cup. Did he win? No, he lost because he did that. But guess what? He had this. He had transformed into something way better, way more powerful than the piston cup, than winning the piston cup. So you see how they take you through that process? Now, hopefully that won't ruin movies for you now. From now on, when you watch movies you watch, they do exactly this every time. And that's why it doesn't matter at the end of a TV series or the end of a movie if they get the achievement or not. It's all about the transformation. Somebody has a transformation. The hero has a transformation that's powerful. Okay, so you sell with your story, not with facts. And what most people do is they share one piece of this, and often it's the less vulnerable part. So they share the external struggle. They might share a little bit of the wall, and then or sometimes they don't even share that. They share the epiphany, and then they share the achievement, and that's all. So the thing about network marketing is that this is what people do. I'm going to draw a bridge. This is the epiphany bridge, okay? Here's you. You're going along on your journey. You're all happy. And you find the product. We have our essential oils. You find essential oils and you go through your journey and you have an epiphany. So you have an epiphany over here. You're so excited about the oils, but this is what happens. After you buy the oils, you get so excited about it, you start geeking out about it. You geek out all about essential oils, and you're going on this journey, and you're learning all about essential oils, and you're learning about gas chromatographs, and you learn about all the different amazing things they can do, and then this is what happens. You get to a place where now you know all this stuff, and you're so excited to share it with somebody, and so here you are over here, you've learned all this stuff, and I'm going to put glasses on you because now you're all smart. You know all the science about the oils and all this stuff. And you're so excited. And now you want to share the oils with somebody else. And guess what happens? You start spewing all this technobabble. That word was coined by a woman. What's her name? She wrote a marketing book about what did she call it? Let me see if I can. I'm going to see if I can figure out what her name is. I want to give her credit. Her name is Kim Clavier. She wrote the network marketing book, If My Product Is So Great, How Come Nobody Buys It? How come nobody's buying it? Okay, so she called this technobabble. Uh-oh. I want to say babble, but I'm not sure if that's how you spell that. So you start spewing all this technobabble about gas chromatographs and all these things that you learned about essential oils, when really what sells is your story, this story, the epiphany. And you can't just tell them your story and tell them the epiphany so now they have the epiphany. That doesn't work. You have to let them have their own epiphany. So you tell them your story about the essential oils, what it did for your health challenge and those kinds of things. And then when they start using the oils or whatever, let them have their own epiphany. And when you tell the story the way I just outlined, that's when you start to see things change. And when you do this online, you've got to do the same thing. That's what turns you from a salesman to a marketer. That's what makes a difference. So just remember, sell with the story, not with the facts. People like to sell with the facts, and because this is what happens. We buy from the emotion. but then we justify our purchase. So imagine if, somebody goes and buys their dream car. They go buy their Lamborghini and they're so excited about their car. When they get to talking to other people and people, their friends say, "Oh, so why did you buy that?" Then what do they say? Because it looks cool and it makes me look cool and it makes me feel like I'm James Bond. No, that's not usually what comes out of our mouth is, well, because I got this great deal and it goes this fast and it saves this much gas and that's not why they bought the car. They bought it for the emotional reason. They're doing the same thing. They're sharing the technobabble when the real thing is what happened over here. Okay, so next lesson, you're going to get the recruiting funnel. We've been keeping it locked until you went at least through this stuff so that you didn't just go put it out there, and because people won't actually watch the videos. They just want to get the funnel out there. They're so excited to get it started. So you can be mad at me all you want, but that's why we saved it for tomorrow, because I wanted to make sure that you got through some of this stuff so that you understand the system and what we're doing. So you're going to get the recruiting funnel. You can totally just change the headlines, use your story. Now that you understand better about the story, you're going to be able to put it together better. Go through the story of your backstory with doTERRA. What brought you in? Use different versions of your story and put it out there in all of your locations, in your social media, on your blog, wherever you are. Just put it out there and start a YouTube channel, whatever you're going to do. In every funnel you get in here, you're going to see this story outline. You're going to notice that I do this. This is what we have. And it's because the experts are the ones who are helping us put that together. So we're going to give that to you. I want you to practice. You can use the ones that I'm providing for you. You could, of course, make your own. Down below, you're going to find an outline so that you can write your own story. We're going to guide you how to write your own story. Just fill in the blanks. Get your story written. If you do not do this piece and get good at your story, you will not be very good at the marketing and you will struggle. I promise. That's what gets you really good at deciding what headlines, what you're going to change, if you're going to change it out from mine. So this is what turns you from the salesman to the marketer. Thanks for coming, you guys. Okay, get on the assignment for today, and tomorrow you get to finally open up the funnel.